Have you ever wondered what a $25 billion rejection looks like? Well, we're about to dive into the incredible story of a manuscript that was turned down by a dozen publishers before it became, well, a global phenomenon. It's a true masterclass in failure, resilience, and the power of that one yes that changed everything.
So think about this for a second. On one side, you have near total rejection from the so-called experts, and on the other, you have one of the most successful creative franchises in human history. I mean, the gap between those two things just seems impossible, right? So how in the world did it happen? That's the story we're getting into. To really understand the triumph, you first have to understand the struggle. We need to rewind the clock to 1996. This is long before the global fame, before the magic completely took over pop culture. This was a time when the author was, in her own words, at rock bottom.
I mean, this just paints such a vivid picture of real hardship. This wasn't some hobbyist with a fun side project. This was a single mom, literally living on government assistance, battling serious depression, and famously writing in cafes just to stay warm. And it's in that environment that this global phenomenon was being quietly born.
So, against all odds, she finishes the book, which, let's be honest, is an incredible feat all by itself. But her struggle, it was far from over. In fact, she was about to run smack into a huge professional wall of rejection.
12. Just let that number sink in. Not one or two, but a dozen different publishers looked at the story of a young wizard and said, nah, not for us. Can you just imagine getting that 12th rejection letter? The temptation to just give up, to just throw in the towel must have been overwhelming.
And you know, the feedback wasn't always a polite, no thank you. It was often brutal. One publisher actually told her, children's books don't make money, get a real job. That's not just rejecting a book, that's dismissing someone's entire dream. It's condescending, and as we now know, it was spectacularly wrong.
After all that negativity, it would have been so easy to just quit. But her spirit didn't break. And the real turning point in this story isn't something that happened to her, it's an internal rule that she made for herself.
She created this powerful personal rule, this mantra: I will face rejection, but I will never reject myself. She basically decided that, look, while she couldn't control the no's coming from the outside world, she would never be the one to tell herself no. That one simple decision right there, it changed everything. So armed with this new resolve, she sends the manuscript out one more time to lucky number 13. The editor, probably skeptical, takes it home. But then something kind of magical happens. His 8-year-old daughter finds it, reads that first chapter, and immediately comes back demanding to know what happens next. The enthusiasm of that one child was the tiny spark that lit the fuse on literary history.
And with that single yes, which really came from one little girl, the floodgates just burst open. The story that the world had rejected was about to become the story the world couldn't get enough of.
The numbers that came after that yes they're just staggering. First up, book sales. Over 500 million copies sold worldwide. To put that into perspective, that's more than one book for every single person in North America and Europe combined. It's not just a bestseller, it's a global cultural event.
And then there's the money. The entire franchise is worth an estimated $25 billion. Remember that publisher who said, children's books don't make money? Well, this number is the ultimate, and I guess most expensive, rebuttal in history.
It all comes down to this one simple ranking. Number 1, the journey from a dozen rejections in a cold apartment to becoming the single highest grossing book series of all time. It's almost unbelievable, but it's true. So, what do we take away from this incredible story? It's really easy to just focus on the massive success, but the real lesson, the one we all tend to forget, is actually found in how we think about failure.
This is it. This is the core lesson. Your worth is not determined by who rejects you. Those 12 publishers didn't decide the manuscript's value. They just completely failed to see it. Your value, your ideas, your potential, they are never defined by the people who tell you no.
This completely reframes how we should look at success, doesn't it? It's not some clean, perfect path. It's messy. It's about collecting those no's, not as failures, but as steps on the journey. It's about collecting them until you find that one person who gets it, that one yes that can change absolutely everything. At the end of the day, every no is really just a test of your own belief in yourself. It's an opportunity to keep going when other people doubt you. So the real question this story asks all of us is a personal one. Whose no are you going to turn into your yes?